doesn't require many introductions, but Professor Duncan Foley, the Leo Model Professor of Economics.
Well, as I said to Peter when I saw him in the hallway, another day, another crisis meeting. So I don't think you do need too much introduction to the usual suspects here, including myself. I wanted to, this is not working. This one works? Okay. I don't have a very organized presentation on this particular subject because I have not given it a lot of thought, but I realized in thinking about it that it actually intersects with a set of puzzles that I do have about understanding the pattern in which the macroeconomic data is evolving, and I think those puzzles are worth thinking about, and they're certainly closely connected to the overall theme of crisis and distribution. In November 2008, I think in a conversation with Lance Taylor or something like that, it occurred to me that it might be a good idea to try to figure out how bad I thought the crisis was going to be macroeconomically, and to sit down and try to make a projection, as it were, of what the peak to trough experience might be, without necessarily presuming anything about how fast you're going to get out of the trough, but just how big the contraction might be in the U.S. economy. And since I'm terrible at this kind of thing and don't do it very much, I resorted back to the bad old Keynesian tools that I learned in the 1960s, which you have not been, no economist has been allowed to show in public for the last 35 years. I mean, this is really what they call back of the envelope stuff. And so my back of the, about the multiplier and stuff, things like that, which really are not kosher subjects for macroeconomic discussion anymore. And what I came up with was basically I put business investment around 0, and I put government stimulus at about 10% of GDP. And I think the hard part of doing this is to figure out what the multiplier exactly is. And anyway, when I did this, I thought, well, looks like peak to trough might be a fall of about 15% in real GDP. And then I pulled out another ancient tool, which is called Okun's law, which is the elasticity of employment with respect to output. And the last I had heard of Okun's law, which was probably about 25 years out of date, that elasticity was supposed to be about 2. So if you had a peak to trough fall of about 15% in real GDP, you ought to have a fall in employment of about 7.5 or 8%. So if you start with an unemployment rate around 4%, you ought to see peak unemployment around 12%. And that was what I was telling people in the late fall of 2008 who asked me what might happen. Now, what's interesting to me about the way this has unfolded is that I wasn't so wrong about the unemployment rate. In fact, probably taking account of the stimulus expenditure, I was pretty close to right on the unemployment rate. But I was way off on real GDP, which suggests that the Okun's law elasticity is very, very different from this number of 2. In fact, it is. The Okun's law elasticity, if you look at it for the whole U.S. economy, is closer to 1. That is, the percentage change in GDP and the percentage change of employment are much closer to the same magnitude. Now,